Welcome, and fair warning, this episode is going to be a little bit different because when democracy is crumbling, you improvise. There is a lot going on here in Missouri, so I think it's time that I just stop and check in. How we doing, folks? You okay? I ask because there was a recent study done by international insurance company William Russell that stated that Missouri is the 5th most stressed out state in the union. They used many factors to determine this, things like suicide rate, air quality, amount of parks, just to name a few. Texas was considered the most stressed state, and the U.S. was considered the 3rd most stressed country in the world. Now, I don't know why Missouri continues to show up on these less than desirable lists, but what I can say is, it's not in your head. During the recent crisis of the last 2 years, unemployment benefits were extended to many more Missourians. However, the state made several errors in managing that program, and they paid some people more than they were eligible to receive. Now, you may be thinking, okay, this is just more government incompetence. Getting a little extra money isn't terrible, right? Well, Mike Parson disagrees. In fact, he finds it so terrible that his administration is going after these Missourians and making them repay the money, or at least trying. Of course, they clearly don't have it because, they were recently unemployed.
The disabled mom of 2 received thousands in unemployment pandemic funds through the unemployment office that's under the Missouri Department of Labor.
They're trying to make me pay back money that they're saying that I should not have gotten. I did everything right. I stayed within the guidelines.
She says the state of Missouri is demanding she fork over $8,000. The Missouri Labor Department, with the support of Governor Parson, has been trying to collect millions of dollars in pandemic relief funds they claim recipients weren't entitled to. The Missouri House of Representatives had worked on legislation to try to give families a break. That measure died in the Missouri Senate. One thing's for sure. She says she can't repay $8,000. She's not hearing anything encouraging from the state of Missouri. She called me after running out of options.
Bank accounts shutting down, getting put out their houses for stuff like this. And it's very upsetting. It's been emotionally draining, and on top of that, it's been very tough on me. It just has not been the best time.
To steal a line from Jess Piper, the Missouri government coming after poor people does just feel like another day in Missouri. Former Missouri Governor Eric Greitens resigned over multiple ethics violations. Campaign finance violations where he used a charity to raise political funds. It's over dark money. Actually, it was because of a sex scandal where he tied a woman up in his basement and blackmailed her. You know what? Actually, let's see. Oh, no. It's because the people were unfair to him. Anyway, he recently released a new campaign ad for his Senate run.
I'm Eric Greitens, Navy SEAL, and today we're going rhino hunting. The rhino feeds on corruption and is marked by the stripes of cowardice. Join the MAGA crew, get a rhino hunting permit. There's no bagging limit, no tagging limit, and it doesn't expire until we save our country.
Yeah, so this is not the first time that he's done this. In fact, in his run for governor, he offered hunting licenses for people who were members of ISIS. So that kind of tells you where he sees rhinos. So I don't have to tell you this is problematic. I think you already get that. Greitens is currently leading in the polls for the Republican primary for the U.S. Senate seat in Missouri. Yeah. So that's what we have. The current frontrunner for a seat in the U.S. Senate from Missouri offering licenses to kill his political opponents. And those are the ones that agree with him on most of the shit. Good Lord. What do you think he's going to do for the rest of us? Damn it, Missouri. Get your shit together. Eric Greitens released an ad offering hunting licenses for human beings that he deemed to be Republicans in name only. Now, after he received some backlash, he then said it was just a joke and that no real people would have taken it seriously. So I thought, well, I'm a real person. I guess there's nothing more to this then. But then I thought maybe, just double check.
In a 41-page request to the court, Sheena Greitens outlined allegations of physical abuse and threats of political influence, saying that her former husband knocked me down and confiscated my cell phone, wallet, and keys. And in another incident, she saw him cuffing our then 3-year-old son across the face, yanking him around by his hair. She says he also threatened to use his political connections in their custody battle. Now Missouri politicians from both parties are condemning Greitens, calling for him to leave the Senate race.
Given what he's done in the past, he has a long history of criminal behavior, that he should be in a jail cell with other people like him and not anywhere near the United States Senate.
Fellow Republicans weigh in, calling him a lying, narcissistic sociopath, a fake, failed politician, and a terrible human being. Even his former campaign manager adding, disgusting, but not surprising, unfortunately. Sheena Greitens is one of the strongest, smartest, and best people I know.
I mean, that was back in March. I wonder what he's been saying about it since.
Rhinos come out with a brand new set of wild accusations against me, which they claim are from 4 years ago.
Well, the reason why the Rhinos came with this disgusting false smear job was for a simple reason. I was the first candidate in the country to say that when I'm elected to the U.S. Senate, we need new America First leadership. And this is the Rhinos doing what they do, which is dirty, false accusations.
So he's been fighting against Rhinos during his campaign. Rhinos then conspired with his wife to lie in a sworn affidavit about his abuse, and he released an ad about hunting rhinos conspiring against him. Well, I'm sure his supporters will understand that wasn't to be taken literally. Well, that's as real as it gets. Conservatives decided to freak out about another kids movie. In Disney's new Lightyear, there's a kiss between two women. Now, I've seen the scene. It's the most benign shit on the planet. Basically, a woman walks into a party, sees their spouse, there's a quick hello peck, and it's on with the scene. It's blink and you'll miss it stuff. It doesn't treat it as special or especially important, just average, normal. And I think that's the problem for them. Conservatives hold tight to this narrative that same-sex public displays of affection are in some way perverse. Ted Cruz likens it to them going at it in front of kids. And this all goes back to this plethora of bills the GOP has tried so hard to pass that restrict anything showing kids that, yes, gay people exist. It's not a big deal. It's actually the same shit, it's just a different decade. Just in my lifetime, in the 80s, it was the AIDS epidemic, where they tried to equate the LGBTQ community to perverse sex offenders and drug addicts. In the 90s, it was Don't Ask, Don't Tell and the Defense of Marriage Act and Matthew Shepard. In the 2000s, when gay marriage in a handful of states was legalized, it was followed by a major backlash in states like Missouri, claiming that same-sex couples are going to pervert the institution of marriage. It wasn't until 2009 that attacks on the LGBTQ plus people are even considered hate crimes. In 2015, the Supreme Court declares that bans on same-sex marriage are unconstitutional, and this is a decision that Clarence Thomas on the current Supreme Court has made clear he wants to overturn. And now we have this fight to shield kids from seeing or learning anything that normalizes the LGBTQ plus community. Notice that it's no coincidence that the framing of the outrage centers around learning about these folks is perverted, or grooming kids, a term used to describe sex offenders. It's the same playbook. Lightyear specifically takes one small step toward inclusivity, but to some,
it brings a whole new meaning to the phrase "to infinity and beyond." Yeah, that's sort of like the slippery slope, Senator. It seems that we never get to the bottom of the slippery slope. Maybe that's because the slippery slope goes to infinity and beyond.
The attempt to restrict people's right to love who they love and live their truth is the real perversion, if you ask me. Just this week, the Supreme Court, led by a majority of judges appointed by presidents that didn't win the popular vote, overturned 100 years of precedent to make it harder to regulate guns. They gave cops an ability to simply not read your Miranda rights. They forced states to include religious schools in public funding programs, and now they have destroyed 50 years of precedent to overturn Roe v. Wade. Do not come in my comments with your smug crap and say, it didn't outlaw abortion, it just lets the states decide. In Missouri and many other states with trigger laws, it did outlaw abortion at conception, literally 5 minutes after the ruling was announced. No exception for rape or incest or viability or health of the mother unless it is a medical emergency where her life is threatened. Performing an abortion is now a Class B felony in Missouri. Mothers are protected from conspiracy to induce an abortion on them, but if they self-induce, a conspiracy protection doesn't exactly do much. That means that in Missouri, if a woman has been raped, inducing an abortion the next day could possibly carry a longer sentence for you than the rapist. The people celebrating today's court ruling are not cheering for freedom or life. They are cheering for the domination of women by the state. You know, history has shown us that some states can't be left to their own devices to decide human rights. We fought a civil war about it. Make no mistake, forcing women to carry a pregnancy to full term under almost any circumstance is a violation of that human's rights. Things have gotten pretty dark here. Attacks on voting rights, attacks on civil rights of marginalized communities, attacks on teachers, and now abortion is illegal in Missouri with zero exceptions outside of a medical emergency. If you feel despair or frustration or crippling rage, I am with you. Your feelings are valid, but there is light at the end of this tunnel. We are just going to have to start a long and difficult journey to that light together. We can do it. You can do it. Let me tell you something that you may not know about yourself. You possess great strength within you. You can do hard things. You are capable of more than you realize. There is a reason why people try to silence you, why they tell you if you don't like it, leave, why they tell you it's not even worth fighting, why they're trying so hard to prevent you from voting, why inequality of income, health, debt, basic human rights are fine with them. So you can't begin to think about spreading your wings because you're saddled with all this weight. You may not see it yet, but you are powerful. Now is the time to harness that power. It is time to harness your power to speak up in any place and with any group where you are valued. Family, friends, any people who love you. You can reach these people in a more meaningful way than any campaign ad or dumb video. You are going to have to advocate for what you need. Tell people how this impacts you. Get them to join you in this journey that is coming. It's time to organize. Showing up is half the battle, but it's not enough anymore. You're going to have to be an active participant. This part might be scary, but have you ever planned a birthday party? Have you ever worked a bake sale, had a garage sale, been part of a union, taught a class, served in the military, organized a cocktail hour for your work? Then you've organized before. You can plan, you can participate, and you can show up. You can. How do you tie that to issues that you care about? Well, find a community. Find a campaign or candidate or nonprofit that you respect and volunteer. Work a phone bank, canvass your county, invite people you know to meet the candidate or go to the event or run yourself. Get creative, Google it. Yes, it's going to be uncomfortable, but I promise you, it will get easier every single time and eventually it's going to be second nature. It's time to motivate. It's time to lift up others around you. You feeling helpless right now? Well, there's probably a bunch of people that you know that are feeling the same way. Let them know they aren't alone. Let them know you will get through this together. Let them know about the power that they possess. Hell, maybe you just found an organizing buddy. Take a second. Think about how many people you know that didn't or couldn't vote in the last election. How many do you think you could get to show up this November? Because if each of us just get one to show up, that can't be ignored. That creates true impact. That's how you secure equal rights, bodily autonomy, healthcare access, well-funded schools, actual consumer protections, and living wage. We all need you to recognize your strength. Together, we can get to this light at the end of the tunnel.